is the screen? Yeah, okay. Start ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ? ಓಕೆ. ಹರಿ ಓಂ ಸರ್ವಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. अथो देव अवन्तु नो यतो विष्णुर्विचक्रमे पृथिव्या सप्तधामभिः इदं विष्णुर्विचक्रमे त्रेधा निददे पदं समूढमस्य भागं सुरे त्रीणि पदा विचक्रमे विष्णुर्गोपादाभ्यः अथो धर्माणि धारयन् विष्णोः कर्माणि पश्यत यतो व्रतानि पस्पृशे इन्द्रस्य युज्यः सखा तद्विष्णोः परमं पदगं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवीव चक्षुराततं तद्विप्रासो विपन्यवो जाग्रवागं सस्समिन्धते विष्णोर्यत्परमं पदम्. ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. This is a selection from the Rig Veda, from first mandala. This is the very first time in the Rig Veda Samhita we hear the name of Vishnu and also Dharma. Both of them appear for the first time, the first mandala itself. It is actually a marvelous hymn for being in the first early stage in the Rig Veda mandala. It is. I also thought that we just finished Onam, so Trini Pada, better to start this one. Yeah. Anyway. यस्तात्मीयपरं वरप्रदगुरौ वैराग्यभाग्यो ददौ वेदान्तामृतसारवन्तमनघा श्रीश्रीनिवासात् गुरोः श्रीशैलान्वयकौस्तुभस्य तनयं श्रेयो निधेः श्रीनिधेः वन्दे साधुकटाक्षकेळिनिलयं श्रीकृष्णसद्धेशिकम् गीतासु गीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मात् विनिसृता मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीताम्बसि स्नानं संसारमलनाशनम्. So we had stopped here. Sahasrayuga paryantam maharyad brahmano viduhu ratrim yugasahasrantam te ahoratra vido janaha. So those are the people who know that real Ahoratra people, day and night, are the ones who know the cosmic day and night, which is daytime is 4.32 billion years and night time is 4.32 billion years. Together add up to 8.64 billion years. So that is the length of a day and night, total day. Those who know that, they are the ones who really know Ahoratra Vido Janaha. And, I think we had said that before. It is 8.86, 4.32 plus 4.3, 8.64 billion years is one day of Brahma. In our given day, there is 86,400 seconds. So looks like, as Isha Sadhguru says, we added a lot of zeros that made the cosmic time so humongous. But still, Brahma's life is not eternal. That's the reason he was telling, Brahma bhuvana lokaha punaravartino arjuna mamupetita kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. So even if you go to Brahma loka, after a few trillion years, you'll come back. So it is. Go on to the new verse. So what happens during those day and night is avyaktat vyaktayas sarvaha prabhavat prabhavantyahārāgame ratriyāgame praliyante tatraivavyakta sangake. This that the Brahma day begins, then all forms emerge from the unmanifested state. They are in the unmanifested state, they all come back to life. When Brahma's night comes, Ratriyagame, everything gets dissolution happens. Night begins, all forms disappear from the visible state. So that is, so during when Brahma's day begins, Prabhavat Yaharagame, when that happens, then all forms emerge from the unmanifested state. So then when Brahma's night begins, all forms disappear from the visible state. That's the dissolution. So avyaktat vyaktaya sarvaha
अव्यक्तात् व्यक्तयत् सर्वाः
prabhavantyahārāgame
प्रभवन्त्यः रागमे
ratriyāgame pralīyante
रात्र्यागमे प्रलीयन्ते
tatraiva avyakta samyake.
तत्रैवाव्यक्तसंज्ञके.
Then he says that bhuta gramasa ayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratriyagame vashapartha prabhavat yaharagame. So the countless beings here, millions of beings, come into existence over and over again, are inevitably dissolved at the arrival of night. Bhutva, then come up to existence and they also go away. Brilliant. They come forth again at the arrival of the day. So millions and millions, they are born and they go to dissolution and they come back again. Bhuta gramasa evayam
भूतग्रामस्य एवायं
bhutva praliyate
भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते
ratriyagame vasha partha
रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ
prabhavatyah ragame.
प्रभवत्यः रागमे.
So that is avashaha partha. Avashaha is inevitably they go through this cycle. Then, but something remains. So he talks about here. It's come and go, but there is something. Parastasmastu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktas sanatanaha yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu navinashyati. But only one thing higher than all this, there is a formless state, the eternal state, a state of being that remains untouched by the cosmic cycle. It is beyond, it is not in any way involved in this cosmic cycles of coming forth to life and dissolution. It doesn't happen. This cosmic cycle spanning 8.64 billion years is equal to day and night of Brahma. But the eternal state of being does not get destroyed or comes back to life in this cycle. So it is beyond this cycle. That's a higher form, higher state. Parastasmat bhavonyo
परस्तस्मात् तु भावोऽन्यो
avyakto vyaktas sanatanaha
अव्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः
yassa sarveshu bhuteshu
यस्य सर्वेषु भूतेषु
nashyatsu navinashyati.
नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति.
So it talks about that one. What is that? Avyakto kshara ityuktaha tamahu paramangatim yamprapya nanivartante taddhama paramam mama. So this is the state of the Supreme, taddhama paramam mama, which is what we say as avyakta, which is something which is unseen, and which is indestructible, which is that is told as considered as the highest state, which is unseen and indestructible. And those who reach that yamprapya taddhama, that is his state, paramam mama, who reach that state, they don't come back. Nanivartante, they don't have punarjanma. So what is spoken of as the unseen and indestructible akshara and avyakta is considered the highest state, paramam gatim. That is tam ahuhu paramam gatim. After reaching that, there is no point of return. That is the supreme domain. That is the taddhama paramam mama. Mama is the supreme domain. Avyaktoksara ityuktaha
अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तः
tamahu paramam gatim
तमाहुः परमां गतिम्
yam prapya nanivartante
यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते
taddhama paramam mama.
तद्धाम परमं मम
Dr. Purusha Saparapartha Bhaktya Labhyastvananyaya Yasyantastani Bhutani Yena Sarva Vidam Tatam. So it talks about that Purusha, that word came earlier also in this chapter. That is the Supreme Spirit who, uh, who pervades in the entire universe and in whom all beings abide. So one can attain that state of Purusha by wholesome uh, devotion, wholehearted devotion. So Purusha Saparapartha. I think you have to unmute yourself. Purusha Saparapartha
Yeah, sorry. Purusha sapara partha
Bhaktya Labhyastvananyaya
bhaktya labdhvastvananyaya
Yasyantastani Bhutani
yasyantasthani bhutani
Yena Sarvamidam Tatham.
yena sarvamidam tatam.
Now he talks about what periods a yogi, a realized person, is liberated, and what's what what time of his departure he is not liberated. That's what he's talking about here. Yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittin chaiva yoginaha prayata yanti tankalam vakshyami bharatarshaba. I will tell you, Arjuna, that what is when a yogi dies, uh, either he comes back or he is liberated forever. And let me explain when that happens. So basically, he's telling just because someone is a yogi, they're not necessarily liberated. Depending on the time of their departure, they either come back or they are liberated. So, yatra kale tvanavrittim
Yatra kale tvanavrittim
avrittin shaiva yoginaha
avrittim chaiva yoginaha
prayata yanti tankalam
prayata yanti tam kalam
vakshyami bharasarshabha.
vakshyami bharatarshabha.
So this applies only to yogis, this time of departure. Depending on the time of departure, they are liberated or they come back. For ayogyas, no problem. They will come back, irrespective of the time. Then he talks about Agnir Jyoti Ahashuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahmavido Janaha. To describe the timing when a yogi, he calls them as Brahmavido Janaha, they reach Brahman. Brahmavido Janaha, they reach Brahman, they don't come back. So the timings he talks is gives some adjectives for the timing. One is Agni, Jyoti. Agni is fire, Jyoti is all the bright light. Ahaha is daytime. Shuklaha is white and pure. And Shanmasa, the 6 months of Uttarayana. So the 6 months of Uttarayana. And this Agni, Jyoti, Ahaha, Shuklaha, these are all basically adjectives for 6 months of Uttarayanam. Because Uttarayanam is kind of considered as the daytime for the gods, for the devatas. So their 6 months is day and 6 months is night for them. That Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. This is by our tradition starts January 15th and ends July 15th, but more astronomically December 21st to June 21st. That is the Uttarayana. That is when the day length of the day keeps on increasing. So he's telling that people who live in the Uttarayana, the yogis, not people, the yogis who live in the Uttarayana, which is the symbol of dazzling white daylight, goes goes forth to reach Brahman. They don't come back. Okay. This verse is uh, Hari and I decided to call this Agni Jyoti Aha Shuklaha as adjectives to Uttarayana. In many translations, they treat them as separately, departing during fire, during glow, jyoti, during daytime, during Shukla Paksha, they add, and 6 months of Uttarayana. Because to us, it didn't make any sense because there is Shukla Paksha and both Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. There is always there. So, and Aha and Ratri is Uttarayana and Dakshinayana also. So, that is why we said all these are adjectives to Uttarayana. So, Agnir Jyotir Aha Shuklaha
Agnirjyotirah Shuklaha
Shanmasa Uttarayanam
Shanmasa Uttarayanam
Tatra Prayata Gachanti
Tatra Prayata Gachanti
Brahma Brahmavido Janaha.
Brahmavido Janaha.
So, if we recall Bhishma, who fell in the battle, when that happened, that was in Dakshinayana. That the war started sometime in November, and he died 10 days following that. And as we know, he waited till Uttarayana to depart his body. He was a Ichchamarani, so he wanted, of course, he was a realized person, yogi. Um, so he did not want to live in Dakshinayana. So he waited for Uttarayana to come, then he departed his body. Then talks about when the yogi returns. This is Dhumo Ratri Statha Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayana Tatra Chandramasam Jyotihi Yogi Prapya Nivartate. So the yogi here, Dhuma, Ratri, and Krishna. Dhuma is smoke, it's kind of foggy smoke. Ratri is night time, and Krishnaha is dark, just like Shuklaha there is Krishnaha here. So these are the adjectives. Dhuma, Ratri, and Krishna are adjectives to 6 months of Dakshinayana. So when a yogi leaves at that time, he comes back. He reaches lunar light, he says, lunar light, attains the lunar path, and is born again. So same, he's also a realized person. Only difference is the time he is departing. He's leaving in the 6 months of Dakshinayana. He's born again, uh, even though he was a yogi. So it almost seems like you have to live on the equator and keep, even if you're a yogi, keep one foot in northern hemisphere and one foot in the southern hemisphere so that you can immediately shift to Dakshinayana, Uttarayana. It seems almost like that. But this is uh, this verse, again, of course, people again started as Dhuma, Ratri, Krishna Paksha. To us, it didn't make any sense. So we made it as adjective to Dakshinayana. So Dhumo, Ratristata, Krishna,
Dhumo Ratristhatha Krishnaha
Shanmasa, Dakshinayanam,
Shanmasa Dakshinayanam
Tatra Chandrama Sanjyotihi,
Tatra Chandrama Samjyotihi
Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
So this is these two verses are suggesting us a yogi will liberated only depending on the time of departure. And this one, uh, I've read Gandhi's translation of Bhagavad Gita. He spent the most time on these two verses. He could not understand why God is discriminating between the two yogis. What was that yogi's mistake? Why should he come back just because he had to live in Dakshinayana? So it's interesting. He spent 2-3 pages of discussion on this, and at the end, he called the one living in Uttarayana as a yogi, Nishkama yogi. He added a prefix to that, and this yogi he added a prefix as Sakama yogi. But Krishna didn't say that. He called both of them as yogis, liberated only persons. I mean, they realized souls, but it just departed. Chama departed, it remains whether they come back or whether they are liberated for good. So, in some ways, if you think life on earth is actually better for someone who has realized, he is not bothered by whatever happens. It is only the unrealized ones who we go through a lot of hassle. And again, this again, Hari and I discuss what could be the reason for this. Why is Krishna making some people, some yogis not to return, but some yogis to return? So our conclusion was it is good to have some wise people around the world so that they can guide other people. So if all the yogis pack up and leave, world may be devoid of people who can guide others. So that may be the plan. And if you see in our own life experience, we have seen there are a lot of ajanma siddhas. They are born with lot of wisdom. They did not have to learn anything. They didn't have to go through any kind of training. Of course, some people are quick learners and all those things, but these people are, a lot of them, they are nirakshara kukshis. They have not even learned anything, but they are born with the innate wisdom. So they may be the people who had departed as yogis in Dakshinayana. So that was our conclusion. Did we do this one? You can do one more time. Dhumo ratris tatha Krishna
धूमो रात्रिस्तथा कृष्णः
षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम्
षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम्
तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिः
तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिः
योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते.
योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते.
Actually, this verse gives us the clue. Shukla and Krishna need not have to be translated as Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. Because here he's telling Shukla Krishne Gatihyete Jagataha Shashvate Mate Ekaya Yatyana Vrittim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. He's summarizing the previous two verses. Shukla and Krishna, these paths are there all the time. Shukla is the bright path and Krishna is the dark path. It's not Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. Indeed, the bright and the dark paths have always been there. Jagataha Shashvate Mate. All the time they have been there. By one, Ekaya Yatyana Avrittim, one by path, by one will not, one yogi will not come back. Anyaya Vartate Punaha. In the other path, yogi will return again. So it very actually clarifies within the Gita itself. There's no need to translate Shukla and Krishna in the previous verses as Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. A lot of time, Hari and I did that. We tried to find in Gita itself evidence, cross-reference, how it is treated. So, Shukla Krishna Gati Hete
शुक्ल कृष्णे गतिह्येते
Jagata Shashvate Mate
जगत शाश्वते मते
Ekaya Yatyana
एकया यात्यनावृत्तिम्
Anyaya Vartate Punaha.
अन्यया वर्तते पुनः.
And he says, so Naite Sriti Parthajanan Yogi Mushyati Kaschana Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. He says, once the yogi realizes there are two paths, that yogi never gets deluded, even if that yogi comes back. He understands the two paths are there. Thus, don't worry about, don't be thinking, well, if I become a yogi, what happens if I die in Dakshinayana? I may come back. Why become a yogi? Take chances. We don't know when we die. So don't think like that. Be established in the yoga. Don't worry about whether you come back or whether you be liberated. Uh, Once you realize these paths are there, you won't be deluded. Be in the yoga always. Yoga yukto bhavarjuna. So knowing these two paths, a true yogi is never deluded. Thus be established in the yoga, Arjuna, all the time, he says. Naite priti parthajanan
नैते सृति पार्थ जानन्
yogi muhyati kashana
योगी मुह्यति कश्चन
tasmat sarveshu kaleshu
तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु
yoga yukto bhavarjuna.
योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन.
So then this one he concludes here. Vedeshu yagneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya palam pradishtam atyeti tatsarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chatyam. This is again in the Trishtub meter, little lengthier, 11 syllables on each line. So he states, whatever, knowing this truth, um, yogi is beyond all the merits of the studying the Vedas, Vedeshu, Yagneshu, Dana, Tapas, all these different exercises, disciplines of all the merits of studying the Vedas, the Yagna, Dana, and Tapa. He truly attains the foremost supreme state, knowing this truth. What we learnt all these things now. So yogi goes beyond all the merits of studying the Veda, following, doing different yagna, penance, doing different charities, all the all the nice things. He attains the foremost supreme state. Vedeshu yagneshu tapassu chaiva
वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव
daneshu yat punyaphalam pradishtam
दानेषु यत्पुण्यफलं प्रतिष्ठम्
atyeti tatsarvamidam viditva
अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा
yogi parang sthanamupayiti chadyam.
योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम्.
Okay, we can do the concluding verse also, the end part. Om Tat Saditi
ॐ तत्सदिति
Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु
Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre
ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे
Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade
श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे
Akshara Brahma Yogo Nama
अक्षरब्रह्मयोगो नाम
Ashtamodhyayaha.
अष्टमोऽध्यायः.
Okay, this chapter was a lot of things about talked about different aspects, and of course giving a lot of value for Om in that Akshara Brahma. This it is, and so this is it's not a whole lot of thing to discuss in this. It's just listen and understand kind of chapter. But one thing I liked in this chapter is it gives us a clue how there are people born with wisdom. You may think that it is just the interplay of genes or whatever it is, but it is amazing to see how people are so realized. They're born like that. So this kind of gives a clue that that may be the reason. I think that's all I had really to add on this. Before we go to chapter 9, if Hari wants to add, I know he was not there yesterday. If Hari wants to add some of his wisdom on this chapter, Hari?
So, yeah, I think, like you said, this is more of a kind of observation of certain phenomena, which is um, very hard to get into the realm of our experience.
Yeah.
So, when he's talking about the yogis and these people, it's more something a little more bordering on the esoteric. Of course, one other way of looking at this set of adjectives is that basically the larger idea is bright and dark. So Uttarayana will represent the bright in the so we know that I think I missed yesterday's class, but I think you have mentioned about how the day for a year for the human beings is a day and night for the devas. So 6 months of human beings is one day for the pitras and so on, right? So this all the way up to Lord Brahma, there is this cosmic time. So in that, at different stages, so if we take in the course of a month, Shukla Paksha represent the what is the bright aspect, and the Krishna Paksha represent the dark aspect. If you take a year, then Uttarayana represent the bright, and Dakshinayana represents the dark. So like this, we have the idea of bright and dark, and these are the two paths using which the yogis will take to attain either the ultimate release or coming back and guiding the other people around.
And these 6 months have a lot of impact in our culture, right? A lot of time people want to do all the auspicious thing in the Uttarayana. They try to, and not so many things in the Dakshinayana. So also it gives a big picture, right? Kintat Brahma, Kimadhyatman, King Karma, all big pictures here. Karma is all activities, not just me making coffee and drinking. Everything that happens, the cosmic level, everything is taken at the cosmic level in this chapter. Everything, even time, everything in the cosmic scale.
No, and the whole idea is the complete creation from the smallest of the beings to the complete universe. Everything is taken into consideration. Everything is seen as manifestation of Brahman.
Yeah. I think I liked one word when he defined Adhyatma. Kim Adhyatma may answer Swabhava Adhyatma Uchyate. Whatever we are, that is our Swabhava. Huttuguna Sutru Hogola, they say that is our Adhyatma. So each person, whatever they follow, it's funny when we had the Navika here in Cincinnati 2019. I was roped in to be the spiritual chair. So that was called Adhyatma. Spiritual in Kannada, we're telling Adhyatma part of it, spiritual. So I was telling that Krishna asks, Arjuna asks, what is Adhyatma? Krishna says Swabhava. So if you looked at our Navika, it went on very well, but each one was doing what they enjoyed the most, because there are so many aspects within the organization of a conference of a large scale, 4,000 people attending, and you need every aspect of it, the decoration, the food committee, the spiritual committee, uh, the yoga committee, all the entertainment committee, all those things. So I said that it's not just, I am not the only chairperson. Every one of you are in this spiritual committee here, because you are all doing whatever your swabhava, whatever you enjoy the most. So the whole Navika itself is a spiritual form, is it? Not just the part I was running. So that kind of.
Then there's another thing with in the beginning of the 8th chapter, right? So, like we have discussed earlier, this is kind of a conversation between two friends, and the content that is there is not organized methodically like a textbook, chapter 1 leading to chapter 2, and so on. There is a very nice idea here, which later Shastrakaras have spoken about, and that is the three levels of reality, or three realms of reality, we can call it. So in that, there is this idea of adibhuta, which refers to anything that is related to the material world. So all, like any scientist, what they're trying to do is trying to understand the mysteries of the natural world, all of which comes under the adibhuta, which is pertaining to the material world. Then we have Adi Daiva, which is pertaining to the world of emotions and belief. So, for example, somebody who is an astrophysicist who's working on a lunar mission is trying to send a rocket to the moon and or launch some kind of a Voyager or something. Whereas when it comes to the realm of Adi Daiva, then that is a god, and Soma is a deity, and is to be worshipped on certain days. So the way in which we see the same moon will be different when it comes to uh, uh, Adidaiva and Adibhuta. Whereas Adhyatma, the third realm of reality, is where we try to understand this from our experience. So we try to take the value what we can get from the moon and try to internalize that. So whether it is a learning of how it's not the same every day, the moon keeps changing. There is sometime there will be a new moon day, sometime there is a full moon day. So that kind of gradual movement is also we see that in our own lives. So understanding the values that from the moon and trying to implement at our individual experiential level, that become adhyatma. So anything, if we are able to understand the world from the three different realms, there won't be a conflict between science and religion and customs and science, ethics and science. Like this, different conflicts will not arise, and they have not arisen in our tradition. So science, we had the side by side developing very well, and belief was developing. So all these three very happily coexisted in Sanatana Dharma.
Yeah, that's very true. So when we put sunscreen, it is Adibhuta. When we do Gayatri Mantra, it is Adhyatma for the same sun. Very good. Yeah. Thank you, Hari. We can do some verses from some more time. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, original name for this is Rajavidya Rajagushya Yoga. So we called it Best of Secrets. We will see that quite a bit of this chapter has remained secret for us. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idantu te Gushyatamam Pravakshyam Anasuyave Gnanam Vignana Sahitam Yajnatva Mokshyase Ashubhat. So he tells, I don't know why this. Okay. So he's telling that I am going to tell you, because he says that you are Pravakshyami Anasuyave. You are really interested in my words. So I will reveal you the best of secret. Guhyatamam, the best of secrets, is practical knowledge guided by wisdom. Jnanam Vignana Sahitam. So knowing that, you will be Ashubhat, you will be free from sorrow. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Idantu te Guhyatamam
Idam tute guhyatamam
Pravakshyam Anasuyave
Pravakshyamanasoyave
Jnanam Vignana Sahitam
Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam
Yajnatva Mokshase Ashubhat.
Yajñatva Mokshase Shubhat.
And he says this, he calls it as Raja Vidya, Rajagushyam, Pavitram Idamuttamam, something. Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Susukam Kartumavyayam. He calls this as a Raja Vidya, is a deepest of all mysteries. Rajagushyam, deepest and the greatest of all studies. Raja Vidya and Rajagushyam. It is the purest of the pure and the best of the best. Pavitram idam uttamam. It follows the rules of dharma. Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. Susukam kartumovyayam. It's easy to practice. So these are the qualities of this Rajavidya and Rajagushya. So this is the deepest of all mysteries and the greatest of all studies. It is the purest of the pure and the best of the best. It follows rules of dharma. Pratyaksha Vagamam, it is dharmyam. It is dharmyam, and it is easy to practice. You can experience it. It's easy to practice, and one can experience it directly. Raja Vidya, Raja Gushyam,
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitramidamuttamam,
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam,
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
Susukam Kartumavyayam.
Susukham Kartumavyayam.
Yeah. अश्रद्धदानाः पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि. He says that one who have no shraddha in that, who rejects this, what I am teaching here, they fail to attain the Supreme. They are born again, aprapya mam, they don't reach me, mrityu samsara vartmani, they are thrown into the endless cycle of birth and death. It says that. अश्रद्धदानाः पुरुषाः
Ashraddadaanaः Purushaः
धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप
Dharmasyasya Parantapa
अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते
Aprapya Mam Nivartante
मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि.
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani.
I talked about Maya Tatamidam Sarvam Jagadav Vyaktamurtina Matstani Sarvabhutani Nachaham Teshva Vastitaha. That everything I pervade everything is pervaded by me. Every universe I am um, I pervade the entire universe, but yet I am Avyaktamurtina, I am invisible. All beings depend on me. Matstani Sarvabhutani Nachaham Teshva Vastitaha. I am not dependent on them. He says the Supreme, I means is Krishna is the Brahman. He says, I pervade the entire universe. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. That's what we say, right? Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. But I am invisible. Even though I pervade the entire universe, all beings depend on me, but I don't depend on them. Maya Tatamidam Sarvam
Maya Tatamidam Sarvam
Jagadavyaktamurtina
Jagadavyaktamurtina
Matstani Sarvabhutani
Matsthani Sarvabhutani
Nachaham Teshvavastitaha.
Nachaham Teshvavasthitaha.
So in the next verse he puts another spin. Nacha Matstani Bhutani Pashyame Yogamaishwaram Bhuta Prinnacha Bhutasto Mamatma Bhuta Pavanaha. He says, though I bring forth them all and sustain all beings, I'm doing that, but still I am not dependent on them. He said that already. In a way, even they don't depend on me. Such is my magnanimity. Pashyame yoga maishwaryam. So I don't depend on them. In the previous say they depend on me. Now they say even they don't depend on me. Which is kind of giving us a free will, putting us like giving us some kind of a freedom. A lot of us think, we all feel that we get a feeling that free will of kind of ignorance itself, we are not dependent on anything like that. He gives that feeling. That is his greatness. A lot of people help, but they don't show off. Oh, I helped, I helped him, I brought him here. That kind of thing they don't say. They have indirectly helped us, but they don't make a big show of it. So that is because of their greatness. Same thing he's talking about the Supreme also. Nata matstani bhutani
Nacha Matsthani Bhutani
pashyame yogamaishwaram
Pashyame Yogamaishwaram
bhuta prinnacha bhutastho
Bhutabhrinnacha Bhutasto
mamatma bhutabhavanaha.
Mamatma Bhutabhavanaha.
And he gives some analogy here. यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र गो महान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानि इत्युपधारय. It is just like a mighty wind that arises in space and moves freely in all directions. yet it is always confined within the space. In the same way, all creatures arise from me, yet they always remain in me. Just like the wind remains, just like the mighty wind remains in the space, all creatures arise from me, and they always remain within me. यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं
यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं
वायुः सर्वत्र गो महान्
वायुः सर्वत्र गो महान्
तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि
तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि
मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय.
मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय.
Just like we living in a country, we are moving around everywhere, but we are still within the country. We cannot leave it, right? Like that. सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकां कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्. Like you are told how we come and go. Depending at the beginning of the Kalpa, that is the day of Brahma, we all come, and the night we all go. Like that, at the end of the same thing is repeated here. At the end of the cosmic day, all beings return to the dormant state, to the unmanifested state. Again, I bring them forth at the beginning of the next cosmic day. The same idea repeated here, what was in the previous chapter of Brahma's day and night. So, Kalpa is for Brahma's day, right? Kalpa is one day of Brahma. Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya
सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय
Prakritim Yanti Mamikam
प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकाम्
Kalpakshaye Punastani
कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि
Kalpadau Visramyaham.
कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्.
प्रकृतिं स्वामवष्टभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः भूतग्राममिमं कृष्णम् अवशं प्रकृतेर्वशात्. So again and again, controlling my own nature, I bring forth the myriads of beings and subject them to laws of nature. So this is same concept again, controlling my own nature. So all this power behind all this creation and dissolution is telling is the Brahman. Again and again, controlling my own nature, I bring forth these myriads of beings. Bhutagrama Mimam Krishnam, all the entire myriads of beings, and subject them to the laws of nature. Prakrite Avashat. Avasham Prakrite Vashat. So brings under the control of laws of nature. So we are all guided by the laws of nature. Nobody can transcend the laws of nature. Prakritim Swamavashthabhya
प्रकृतिं स्वामवष्टभ्य
विसृजामि पुनः पुनः
विसृजामि पुनः पुनः
भूतग्राममिमं कृष्णम्
भूतग्राममिमं कृत्स्नम्
अवशं प्रकृतेर्वशात्.
अवशं प्रकृतेर्वशात्.
It's kind of, you can see how the whole Prakriti and Purusha are so intimately interacting here. Not leaving us and letting go. Like, interesting, so Einstein was asked, what did you think about God? What is your opinion of Lord? They asked him. He said, subtle is the Lord, but malicious is not. So what do you mean by that? Well, nature hides her secrets, not out of ruse, but just out of loftiness. So all the natural, there are so many secrets in nature. So he's kind of equating how Prakriti and Purusha is God and nature as almost like coming them together, blending them together. So nature hides lot of secrets, not to trick us, not in any cunning way, but just to make it more lofty. If everything is open, everything is revealed, it is not so lofty. Then he continues here. न च मान्तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु. Although I do all these things, all these actions, they don't bind me because I am udasina, I am indifferent to them. I remain impartial and unattached because of all the nishkama activity. They don't bind me in any way, even though I am so intimately involved in every aspect of it. Nachamantani bhutani,
न च
sorry, nachamantani karmani
न च मां तानि कर्माणि
nibhadnanti dhananjaya
निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय
udasinavadasinam
उदासीनवदासीनम्
asaktam teshu karmasu.
असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु.
All his activities, diligent in action, but not bound by it. It is not indifferent to action, indifferent to what happened in the outcome. मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृतिः सूयते सचराचरं हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते. He says that he is the president. It is under his supervision. Mayadhyakshena prakriti. The nature brings forth all things under my supervision, both animate and inanimate, and sets the universe in motion. Jagat viparivartate. So mayadhyakshena prakriti
मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृतिः
सूयते सचराचरम्
सूयते सचराचरम्
हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय
हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय
जगद्विपरिवर्तते.
जगद्विपरिवर्तते.
And we talks about people who don't realize this one, right? Avajananti māmūಢāः mānuṣīṃ tarumāṣritam param bhāvamajananto mama bhūtamaheshwaram. The people who are foolish, the mūಢas, don't understand. When I appear in the human form, as we know in Mahabharata, whole epic, very few people recognize the supremacy of Krishna. Very few people. Um, Arjuna himself had problem recognizing, right? When I appear in the human form, the foolish people disregard me because they don't recognize my higher state as the great Lord of all being. They only look up him as son of Devaki or like that. They don't look at something beyond what they see. Parambhavam ajanantaha mama bhuta maheshwaram, because they don't recognize higher state as the Lord, Bhuta Maheshwaram, Lord of all the beings. I am the Lord of all beings. Avajananti mam mudhaha
अवजानन्ति मां मूढाः
manushin tanumashritam
मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितम्
param bhavamajananto
परं भावमजानन्तो
mama bhuta maheshwaram
मम भूतमहेश्वरम्
mogasha moga karmano mogha gnana vichetasah rakshasimasarin chaiva prakriti mohinim shritaha. Because they lack insight. Mogasha, they are empty. They are full of emptiness. They lack insight with unreal hopes. This is different kinds of trivial hopes, trivial knowledge, everything trivial, moga, 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 trivial, and insignificant deeds. They resort to wicked ways. Prakritim mohinim sridaha. They rakshasim asarin chaiva. They do resort to wicked ways. So they lack insight. This is the Mudas he is talking about. Avajanantima Mudaha, previous verse. Those kind of people lack insight with unreal hopes, trivial knowledge, and insignificant deeds. They resort to wicked ways. Moghasha, Mogha Karmano,
मोघाशामोघकर्माणो
Mogha Gnana Vichetasaha,
मोघज्ञानाविचेतसः
Rakshasi Asarin Chaiva,
राक्षसीमासुरीं चैव
Prakriti Mohinim Shritaha.
प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रुताः.
So the one Raksasim is wicked, cruel, another is Asurim is demonic. So wicked and demonic. But he talks about the great people are different, realized people. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakatimashritaha bhajantyananya manaso natva bhutadim avyayam. But the great souls, Mahatmanaha to Partha, but they are of the divine nature. Daivim prakatimashritaha. They are aware of um, they who abide in the divinity, the divine nature, are aware that I am the eternal source. So, Bhutadi, they know that I am then Bhajantya Nanya Manaso, they worship me with singular focus. So, but the great souls, Partha, who abide in divinity, they are Daivim Prakriti, are aware, and I am the eternal source of all being. They know that. They know Nata Bhutadi Avyayam. I am the uh, eternal source. They worship me with singular focus. Bhajanti Anyamanasaha. So, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha
Mahatmanastu mam partha
Daivim Prakatimashritaha
daivim prakritimashritah
Bhajantyananya Manaso
bhajantyananya manaso
Natva Bhutadi Avyayam.
jnatva bhutadim avyayam.
So we see what they do, such kind of people, Satatang Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridavratah Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya Nityayukta Upasate. Those great souls glorify me. Satatam Kirtayant Mam Satatam Kirtayanti. They glorify me all the time, honor me with intense devotion. Yatantascha Dridavratah, with a firm mind, and they worship me with firm resolve. Dridavrataha. Namaskantyaschamam bhaktya, with true devotion, always nitya yukta, eternally involved in my uh, worship. This is very interesting. This kind of satatang kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. I have seen with Satya Sai Baba Bhaktas. Whenever I am with them, they are always talking about glory of Satya Sai Baba. Telling he did this, he does that, like that. They're always rejoicing in that. So I've seen like a real life example of people like that. Satatang kirtayanto mam
Satatam kirtayanto mam
yatantascha dridavrataha
yatantascha dhridavrataha
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
namasyantyascha mam bhaktya
nityayukta upasate.
nityayukta upasate.
It's also true for people who love Gita, Bhagavad Gita. They're always thinking of one Gita verse or the other in any situation, any context. So something we really adore a lot. We never get tired of. This is true for anything, whether love for cricket, or love for movie, and love for actor, for love for anything. When we are deeply into it, we don't mind talking about it endlessly. ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्. So he says different ways. And there are some other people, the previous people are Satatam Kirtayantoma. Now some other people are there who are dedicated into engage in the cultivation of knowledge, Gnana Yajna, cultivation of knowledge, who worship me as one. And they also worship me as the one, the distinct, unique, and supreme, present in all, manifest everywhere. They are seeing me ekatvena, pritatvena, bahuda vishwato mukam. Everywhere they see me only. So then, and there are people who are some others, anye chapi anye, other people who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. So they worship me, Mam Upasate, as the one, the distinct, and as the supreme, present in and manifest everywhere. Those are the kind of people, Yoma Pashyati Sarvatra, that kind of people. Nana Yajnena Chapyanye
Jnana yajnena chapyanye
यजन्तो मामुपासते
यजन्तो मामुपासते
एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन
एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन
बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्.
बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्.
Yeah, I think we'll stop here. So we'll continue. So let's end here. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Tato dharmas tata krishnah, eta krishna tato jaya. Namaste to you all, and we'll see you tomorrow. I don't know what was happening. A lot of cloud was coming, clouding my presentation. So hopefully, thank you.
Namaste.
Yeah, thank you. Namaste.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ. Thank you, sir.
Namaste.
Thank you.